Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneur grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your host.
Welcome everyone to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Kimberly Danielle and I am a community builder, communication strategist, and a coach who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And welcome to you, Stephen, my co-host.
Hey, Kimberly, it's good to be with you. As you know, I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. For over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to the well-being. And so I am delighted once again to be here with you. And how many of you all have asked yourself, am I ready to scale my business? But when you say scale, what do you actually mean? Is it more revenue, deeper impact, expanded audience? Maybe it's a larger team. In this episode, we are unpacking what scaling actually requires, what social entrepreneurs especially need to be mindful of, and how you might unintentionally stall your ability to scale. And practical questions that you can consider today if scaling feels like the right next step for you.
I think about one of our early episodes with Jay Johnson, Stephen, the founder of College Prep U and co-founder of Prep Intel. And, I don't know if you recall, those of you who have been tuning in for a while, you might remember this. During his first year of business, 37 students were enrolled in his program. By the second year, 37 went to 2,500. 2,500. Think about that jump. That kind of growth, it really forces you to confront everything in your business that isn't built to sustain it. Isn't built to sustain that type of growth that fast. Scaling seems to magnify what really needs attention within a business. And it did that for Jay. So whether that's, in other cases, thin margins that you already have, okay, what's going to happen when you scale? Shaky systems that you are already experiencing that you have in place now, what's going to happen if you grow tomorrow? Or the heavy reliance on the founder, which can often happen. So again, if you were to grow fast over a period of several months, what happens then? And the dependence on one person, I will highlight that especially, it can be dangerous because on this podcast, we also talk about well-being and taking care of yourselves and slowing down and not burning out. And dependence on one person can lead to burnout, especially when we're talking about scaling. Scaling doesn't just grow your business, it really exposes those areas within your business that need some attention.
When we talk to people, many times we hear about the fear of failure. But the other side of the coin for entrepreneurs is the fear of success and what comes with your growth or your business growing so rapidly. What are you to do now? And so hopefully this episode will help you think about and to develop a plan before you actually get to a place where you actually need to execute the plan, and then you can modify it accordingly. And so this is sometimes where founders are surprised when they think about scale. Sometimes they think about scale really does equal success. And it does create some level of that, but scale can also increase one's risk. So let's imagine a founder who currently generates $1 million in revenue. They have a small team, a strong reputation, positive impact, and they say, we want to double our revenue in the next 2 or 3 years. So I would ask them, what breaks your business if you were to double your revenue to 2 million? And I think oftentimes you have to think about systems. That's processes and procedures. And that can be financial, communication, operation, risk management. It can talk about load management of a team. It can also be about the capacity of the personnel, evaluation, impact, and also the carbon footprint of your business, given that you are social entrepreneurs. The other thing you have to think about are the checks and balances, quality and control. When it's just one person or two persons, you can bounce things off. But if you grow so rapidly, how do you put the right checks and balance or right size your checks and balances accordingly? And then the third thing I'm thinking about is supply chain. So that in supply chain, you have to ask the question, how will you meet the demand, manufacture in the storage and distribution of now this increased demand for your product or service? So doubling revenue without doubling your discipline, attention, and your intention can actually lead to a chaotic and challenging journey that can be very stressful unnecessarily.
Yeah, that's very true. I'll also note that, scaling, it can be both planned or, well, not both, but it can be either planned or unplanned, or maybe it could be planned, but it's happening faster than what you thought. In Jay's case, the founder I mentioned earlier, scale came faster than expected, but in other cases, it might be more of a strategic choice, something that you're really trying to build toward. And like Stephen said, either way, it demands attention and intention. And for social entrepreneurs in particular, this can be a more layered kind of topic to approach, because scaling activity is not necessarily the same thing as scaling impact. So you can grow your revenue and also dilute your mission and the impact you want to make. So the question is not only can we scale, but I would say as social entrepreneurs, more importantly, is also should we, and how, and when. So that's just something additional to consider as a social entrepreneur as well, because you don't want to dilute the good and the positive impact that you are trying to create in communities and people's lives.
Yeah, and so I want to give you something to consider. If you were listening and thinking about scaling, here are three things that you can do this week. And you can run this test a few times. Ask yourself, what breaks if we double our revenue tomorrow? Is it your cash flow? How you deliver your products or your services? Is it your team capacity? Maybe it's your customer experience. But ask yourself the question, what breaks if we were to double our revenue tomorrow? The second question is to define what scale actually means for you. Is it revenue? Is it impact? Is it reach? Is it some number with regards to your livelihood? Maybe it's all of the above, but define what it actually means for you. And then thirdly, I want you to consider this for social entrepreneurs especially. What happens to your mission integrity if you were to double your revenue or scale 2 times the size that you are? Would you have a shift in the quality of your work? Would you have burnout? What about the connections to your audience? Does it weaken? Think about that. Because at the end of the day, I think it boils down to whether or not you have a plan and have thought about scaling, whether it happens immediately or whether it happens gradually over time. Thinking about these questions, having a plan, and thinking about where you might need to modify it over time, at least has you prepared in the event that it would happen very quickly or if it would happen over time. And I think that's really important, is really trying to think about how might you be prepared and what questions you need to ask yourself as it relates to the blessing of scaling and also the challenge if your business were to scale immediately.
Yes, listening to you talk about plans, Stephen, it makes me think about it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And so to be thinking about this, kind of gives you a step ahead. Also, this is your opportunity to really look at the systems that you have in place for your business and to make sure that they're strong, even in your current structure, to where, maybe you didn't scale to this extent where you're growing, doubling in revenue, but maybe you had an uptick and you did grow in a month that you didn't anticipate. And so, it's also making sure that your business is sound. Those systems, thinking about, the supply chain, just thinking about these elements to where right now, today, my business is strong. And if I were to experience some level of growth, even if it was on a smaller scale, we'd be able to handle it, or we have a plan in how we might approach that. So scaling is not just a financial decision, it's a leadership decision, it's a strategic decision, it's a decision for us as social entrepreneurs that should be tied and related to our mission. So, I hope that this conversation has brought up something for you and you take the time to reflect on the questions that Stephen provided. I I really hope that you all continue to join us on this podcast and you find nuggets, you find some wisdom, you find some inspiration or encouragement for your journey. You can also visit dogoodx.org to explore past conversations that we've had, resources, and ways you might stay connected with us beyond this podcast. At DoGoodX, we are committed to helping founders like you to build organizations that grow with discipline, attention, and intention. Until you join us next time, be well and do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.